Today's video is about presentations. How can we present in such a way that it has an impact on our audience? I have a pasta recipe of 5 tips that will help in doing exactly that. But before I dive into these 5 tips, let me tell you a short story of my love-hate relationship with presentations. At this point in my life, and for quite a few years now, I am in love with presenting and public speaking, but I used to hate presenting in front of an audience, especially in front of a big audience. I went through high school without a single problem about presenting, mostly because I was surrounded by my friends, basically. Then through university with a bit of difficulty, but not so much, as I chose the approach, as long as you do not speak, you are safe. Then I started my first job, and it didn't really include presenting with big audiences. It was mostly with my colleagues. And then 1 year into my job, there was the population census. I was working at the National Institute of Statistics in Albania at the time. And me and other colleagues of mine, we were included in the census as the training staff. We had to train the local supervisors who would then train and supervise the field enumerators. I was appointed to a group of local supervisors, and when I saw on paper the number of supervisors that I had to train, I remember I was so afraid, but it was part of my job, and at that point I had actually thought to myself that I'm going to use this opportunity to get comfortable with presenting in front of a relatively big group of people. This group was even bigger than I had anticipated and a bigger challenge that I had prepared for. Still, I kept my spirits up, thinking it cannot be that bad. No, it was worse. On the first day of the training, I remember as if it happened yesterday, I was walking slowly towards the room, and then I stepped inside and I was completely taken aback. The feeling that I got was much worse than the feeling that I had when I saw the list of people that were going to be there. One of the reasons was that a lot, if not most, of the people were older than me, so I was going to train people twice my age or more. I started talking, but I remember my voice was trembling and quavering. I had no power at all over it. Then I got all red in the face. I was perspiring a lot. I felt paralyzed, literally. And then, I don't know how long that lasted, but I remember it felt quite long. I saw people starting to talk to each other, not listening to or even looking at me. And that made me kind of revolt. I knew the material that I had to train them on. I knew who my audience was, and I knew that I could do it. It was, and I promise I'm not exaggerating, like a switch. A few moments ago I was off, and then in the blink of an eye I was on. I fixed my posture, I took a deep breath, and I took control of my voice and focused on the material that I had to teach. Things started getting better immediately. I know that my experience is my experience, and you have yours, either in the past or in the present, that make you hate presentations and stop you from getting better. But I am hoping that you see that if it was possible for me to do it, it is possible for you too. You may think, what do I even care? I'm doing okay. I don't need to get better at presenting. I don't have that many presentations to give anyway. Let me tell you why it is important that you improve on your presentation skills. 1, it puts your abilities into display. There are a lot of people who are smart, but they shy away from doing presentations because they are scared, because they don't want to be the center of attention. When, let's say, you're out with your friends and your friends want to go to get a drink, but you feel like having an ice cream, if you don't say that you want to have an ice cream, then you will not get it. If you are being taken advantage of, people consider you to be a pushover. Unless you speak up for yourself, chances are people will continue to take advantage of you. If you don't put parts of yourself into display for other people to see, there is no way for them to know those parts of you. And when we don't see something, we assume that that something is lacking. If people expect you to give a presentation, but you don't give it, then they could assume that you are not capable to give a presentation. From that deduction, other ones generally follow, that you can't handle it, so you're not one who deserves to be promoted, for example. That you're not smart enough, that you can speak up for yourself. If you don't have to give a presentation and you don't like presentations, then you can sit back and not worry about giving one. But if you do have to give a presentation, but instead you, for example, allow someone else to present in your place, then that is not okay. I would say even if you don't have to give a presentation, but you could, then volunteer for it. Challenge yourself. As many presentations as possible will only make you better to also realize how you could use presentations to show parts of yourself that could help you. For example, if you'd like to speak for your company at a conference, then you could show that you are the best that the company can send by giving good presentations in previous occasions. The second reason why it is important that you improve your presentation skills is by seeing you in your element when you present, the audience will automatically deduct that you are good at other things too. From a very young age, we all make deductions about people that we meet continuously. For example, when we were a child, we would see the popular kid and think how amazing they probably were with everything else too. When I was in high school, I had quite a few teachers that I admired because they were able to teach very well. And I would think, they are amazing. And I remember I would also think, they should be married to someone as amazing as them and have this many children. And they must be so happy, and they must have a lot of friends who they go out with, and they must visit a lot of places. I would go on and on assuming how amazing they were with everything because they were good at one thing. With age, we tend to do this less, but we still do it subconsciously. We might not spend time thinking how amazing the new employee is just because they speak many languages, but deep down, we consider them to be good in other areas of their life, and we behave in a way that agrees with this thought. We respect them more than we would if we didn't know that they spoke many languages. We automatically think that they have either traveled to or lived in many places. When you present well, your audience will automatically think other good things about you. You must be smart. You must have succeeded in other previous jobs or positions. You must be good with time management. Now, knowing that, why wouldn't we do things that build our reputation as a smart and successful person? And 3, you increase your chances for success. People who are able to present well are considered to be better at communicating with their peers, with their managers, with their clients. As a result, they are the ones that are taken into a consideration when a new opportunity comes to be or when a better position opens up. When you do a good job as a presenter, then people will come to you with opportunities. And having opportunities and making use of them creates more experiences and leads the way to other successes. Hoping that I have now motivated you to get better at presenting, let's jump in with the 5 tips. PASTA stands for posture, audience, story, thrilling, and awareness. The first thing to pay attention to is your posture and voice. How important is your posture? If I stay here in front of my camera instead of a live audience, but still, I might sit here and do this. Hi, today I'm going to talk about presenting in an impactful way. Or I might change my posture to this and go, hi, today I'm going to talk about presenting in an impactful way. You see the difference? I am using the same words in both cases, but they sound and look very different. The thing with posture is that it affects our emotions and our voice. Even though I am saying the same thing in both scenarios, when I'm hunching over, I myself feel more scared, reluctant to speak, and it shows in my face too. I don't feel like smiling or making eye contact. My voice is low, it comes from my throat, so if I start speaking louder, it will come out grated and it will sound strained, and I cannot continue speaking from my throat for a long time. We should speak from our diaphragm instead. What helps with that is a good posture. Standing straight helps keep our throat and head in line with our diaphragm, which makes it easier for the sound to come out without any strain. And good breathing. Support your voice with deep breaths from the belly. Speaking from the throat hurts your audience and your impact, but it also hurts you, literally, as your throat will start hurting after talking from the throat for a while. The second and most important, dare I say, is the audience. The mistake that many people make, and that I have made too, is that they don't think that they need to target their presentation to their audience. If you know what your audience is going to be, make the presentation that will interest your audience. If you are talking to an audience of computer scientists, don't make, fashion references. You need to adapt every part of your presentation to your audience. Even if you have to give the same presentation to different audiences, you should still change it so that each audience finds itself in your presentation. Specifically, what you should include in your presentation is elements that make you relatable to the audience. If you are going to present in front of an audience of programmers who has been struggling to keep up with the latest technologies and programming languages, don't talk about difficulties that you are having with managing your time or languages that you used a decade ago. Find the common points between you and your audience and find real and authentic instances that show how you, too, are affected by the same things that your audience is. The third element that you want to use is stories. In any public speaking instances, you should find a story, a personal story, that you can share with your audience. It could be a story that will captivate your audience's attention, make it listen to you all the way through your presentation. It could be a story that relates you to the audience, related to the second tip that I mentioned. And you could also just tell a story, any story. But the best story is your story. Share something that has happened to you. It could be a big event or just you reflecting on something. Stories make an audience pay attention during a presentation. They also make a presentation more memorable and have more of a lasting impact on the audience. I have already made a video on storytelling, so if you want to improve your storytelling, you could go here to check it out. 4. Be thrilling. Everything that we say depends a lot on the way we say it. If we were to compare two people who, the first one talks about how she got a 6-figure deal in her business in this way. Yesterday, I closed a deal. It was a significant deal for my business. Now, the second person talks about a book that he was reading. Yesterday, I finished reading Froth on the Daydream. My God, I was not expecting that ending. Who do you want to hear talk more? Who would you be more interested to ask follow-up questions to? The same thing goes with presentations. Even if you include as part of your presentation a mundane story, you could increase the impact that it has on your audience by delivering it with high energy and in an authentic way. The energy and authenticity that you put into telling a story is related to your confidence. If you believe that your story is impactful, it had an impact on you and it can have an impact on others too, then you will share it with high energy. Also, the more confident you are in your story, the more authentic you can be. And lastly, awareness. The fact that we target our presentation to our audience does not mean that we prepare it for our audience and then when we actually go in front of our audience, we deliver it just the way we prepared it. We have to be aware of what is happening in the audience while we are delivering our presentation. Being oblivious about our audience makes our presentation and us robotic. We have to observe what is happening while we're presenting to adapt to any changes that could happen. If, let's say, nobody in the audience is paying attention, then we can't keep talking as if nothing is happening. We should find a way to get the audience's attention. Always keep an eye out on what your audience is doing and how it is responding to your presentation. But at the same time, don't try to read your audience's mind. Sometimes things are not the way they look. To people talking to each other does not mean that they are talking about something else. They could be discussing about something that you just said. Someone who's on the phone does not mean that they are bored with you and prefer being on social media instead. They might have problems that they have to attend to. As long as it's not the entire audience that is behaving in the same way, keep going with your presentation. If the entire audience is talking and not listening to you, then it's something that you should address. One way to raise your awareness of your audience is to interact with it. The most straightforward way to do that is by asking questions. If there is something that you see your audience is paying attention to and it's something that is not related to your presentation, address it. If there is, for example, a lot of noise coming from outside, then you could just say something as simple as, yes, I know, the noise from outside is really annoying. That's it. Whatever it is, address the elephant in the room. And there it is. This is my pasta recipe for an impactful presentation. Let me know which one you like more or which one you need to work on. I will see you in next week's video.